greatest kayak trails in South Florida. But where do you rent your kayak from? Also, we have the Snook Islands project. People are coming here to visit that one-of-a-kind project in this country. We have ecotourism here in this city. We should be capitalizing on that ecotourism. We don't have to destroy anything to bring that money into our city.
One of our greatest resources we have here is our cottages. Now, the cottages are about 2,000 properties. I'm actually on the board of the cottages of Lake Worth. We're in the middle of writing a book that's going on coffee tables to promote our downtown city and the wonderful charm of these small little houses that have been neglected too much. They're wonderful. You can imagine coming down here, and we have bike tours now, we have walking tours coming up, and it will be very active in the Street Painting Festival will be promoted. That's a really important part of our city and part of the history, the planning. We have 2 main streets. Well, there's not many places that have that here. So what we look at as a destination city is we need a hotel, because how would you be a destination city without 1 or 2 nice hotels here? We don't have any. Why? Because it's been repressed before, and now we're getting them back again. So I think that we need to have places to stay, and there's a lot of places for people to see, and I wouldn't be anywhere else. Thank you.
I think that what Commissioner Zerdy, Commissioner McVoy, Mr. Ryan said is all true. You know, we have a lot of great, attractions here. We have the beach, we have the cottages, you know, we have a great downtown. So we just need to promote what we already have. And the last thing is that we just need to promote our arts and culture. You know, we could be the Austin of the South. We could be a cultural hub where everybody wants to come, where we could have, you know, galleries and, you know, indie bands and that type. Can you hear me? All right, you know, and that type of atmosphere, and that would attract a lot of people because, like Commissioner McVoy said, we have a lot of tourism already. We have a lot of destination tourism already, a lot of snowbirds, a lot of people that come in. My neighbors are Finnish. So, you know, they come here already, but we just need to give them a reason to tell their friends to, you know, bring their friends over also.
This has already been brought up, so I'm just going to make this a quick yes or no question, and I'll walk with the mic. Commissioner McVoy. Yes or no, should the city keep its contract with the fire department?
Yes.
Yes. Easy yes.
Yes.
Okay, going back the other way. The Palm Beach Sheriff's Office.
Yes.
Easy yes.
Easy yes. Okay. Last time we elected some people, they wanted to get rid of that. Okay. Well, we asked that question. Okay, now comes the pool, which was brought up a few minutes ago. We've now finished the construction and redevelopment of the pool and beach area. How do you propose that we monetize our assets over there? Or monetize, whatever.
I'm going to be a stick in the mud here. We currently have an invitation to negotiate for. We currently have an invitation to. We have an invitation to negotiate for improvements to enhance the beach right now. It's been noticed, it's publicly noticed, but they're in the middle of that process. We're going to have to vote on who gets through that process to be contracted with the city. So I don't know how we would answer that other than, you know, it's part of a process right now. You may not have known that, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. As I said, I just wrote these last night on the boat. Got help from people here today. 1 minute question. And this may be a little tricky. What is your opinion of our current code enforcement, and what would you do differently?
I think we want to keep going that way. Okay, I'll do whatever way you're in a current. You're in the flow. Okay.
1 minute.
Code enforcement is obviously a major issue in this city. Going door to door in the past month and a half, I can see citywide that there are code violations everywhere. I think that this city is in desperate need of more code enforcement staff and more maintenance staff. I realize that some of these staff cuts happened years ago in an effort to save money. I think that we should revisit those staff cuts because when we start to cut on things like beautification, it starts to send a message to the outside world that Lake Worth is a rundown and vulnerable city, and I would like to change that perspective.
One of the ways to help with that, of course, is to increase our code officers and help that. One of the ways we can is increase our budget. How do we do that? We get more investment in the city and raise our tax base. We have $90 million of new property, new projects right now coming in. Planning and Zoning made that presentation to us the other night. Once we can raise our budget, we can allocate more resources to that department. And then, again, we appreciate everybody who calls in about these things, because we, in fact, added 40 new ordinances this last year, which you may not know, but it gave teeth to the code department. We can now take back some of their property, not even the property they have here, but property in other locations that their name is attached to. So there's a lot more teeth to it than there is before, and we're going to keep the pressure up.
Yeah, this is it's basic math. You know, if we don't have enough to pay employees, then we can't hire them. So we have to raise the tax base. We have to bring more revenue into the city. But the problem is, every time the city tries to do something that's bringing in more revenue, we have some people that are completely against it. They're against anything that's going to increase our property values. They're everything that, you know, is believed to increase the property values. They're always going to find some reason to say that they don't want to see it happen. Anything that's going to increase our tax base in any way, they're going to find some way to say that they don't want to see that happen. But then when an issue like court enforcement comes up or infrastructure comes up, they're going to be the first one to raise their hand and complain about all the issues that we have. So the answer to the question is simple. We need to increase our tax base.
Thank you. My feeling on code enforcement, from what I hear around the community, is we have a policy of worst first. Everybody in this room has seen buildings and yards that are abandoned and in terrible shape. And yet everybody in this room has heard stories of a new homeowner or somebody who's putting energy into a community or into a building and is written up for something. Somebody who's putting the investment in the community, who is raising property values, gets written up, and next door there's something that's a dump. In theory, we have a worst first policy. What I have said recently, and for a while, let's write down what our priorities are for code enforcement so that everybody in this room can agree on it, or most of us at least, and that everybody knows that worst first means that this is what we're going to do. The things that we obviously see that pull our community down, we go after that first, and then we worry about whether you use electrical conduit to put up your flag or something that's unimportant.
1 minute again. Now we're going to pick on the building department and permitting, and why it takes 3 weeks of the month of August to get an air conditioner permit.
Yeah.
It only takes 3 days in December.
Yeah.
Building permits definitely was one of the issues, because what we had was an inept group that was in there before. We have a new manager department, Louis Martinez, who came from us from West Palm Beach. Louis is very service-oriented. If you talk to a lot of contractors I have, we just had 28 units of townhouses that have been approved right here in downtown. And that developer, that investor said he's been well-serviced in getting his permit and he's totally within all the permit requirements. The reason why, because when people come in, there's a checklist. You have everything on the checklist done, you'll get your permit quicker. If you don't, as an architect, I know this because I help us get those checklists in order, you will get your permit. So you need to get your permit application correct, and they will service you. Ms. Lindsay can tell you, her contractor knows what he was doing. You got your roof permit in how long?
A week.
A week. So you just need to have it together.
The city has their rules that they have to follow, and it only makes sense that they're being as diligent as possible with it. And, you know, like Commissioner Zerdy was saying, I believe that this is an older issue, not something that is as big as an issue now, but we want to make sure that the city is doing their due diligence and that everything is running, you know, is running properly, and that everything that needs to be done is being done. And we're not just pushing through building permits just because people are complaining that it's taken too long, that we're actually doing the work. And if it takes a little bit longer to do the work so that we can have a city where everybody's up to code, and, you know, for me, I think it's a bigger issue because in the areas where I'm looking at, especially on the west side, there's a lot of people that throw up a lot of buildings without building permits that don't care, and then there's issues, and then there's fines, and then there's all these issues that happen, and then, then the city's the one that's the city's the one that's stuck paying for it. So that's why I'm not so mad about the building permit, but I do know that it is getting better.
I thought it was getting better, but as I talk with people, it bothers me a lot that I've talked with a number of folks who have invested in the city, decided to take buildings that were in bad shape and try to pull them up to standards, bring them back onto the tax rolls, and had horror stories in dealing with the building department and with permits. We certainly always used to have a reputation of being a very difficult place to get permits through. It was slow, it was difficult. It was one of the things that bothered me. It's bothered me all the time that I've been in office. I thought we were getting better, but I don't think we're there in terms of professionalism. What Mr. Jerome mentions, that we need code, we need to have everything up to standard. Does anybody in this community, in this room, believe that that's what we've got in the community? No. Either we have everything up to standard and maybe it takes a while to get things, or if we don't have anything even vaguely close to standard, then at least for the people who are trying to do something, let's make sure that we're professional, that we're quick, and that we're use some judgment and get things through quickly. We're not doing well enough on that.
1 minute question.
I didn't answer that question.
Oh, sorry.
Having remodeled a property in the downtown Jewel district, I have worked with the building department. Honestly, it can be a challenging office to deal with. It's a difficult job. I think they should have a high standard in the building department. It serves our city well. But it should also be a warm, welcoming, friendly process. We want people to fix their homes. We want people to make additions to their businesses. We want people to make this city better. And we should welcome them, we should be friendly to them, we should be kind to them, and we should always be striving to be better in that area. Thank you.
I'm going to wrap a lot into this one question, Cheryl. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But it reminds me when Rachel was up here one time, when she was about 4 or 5 and asked the question, why don't we have any bike lanes in the city? And since then we have about a bunch by the schools, but we don't really have them, even in our neighborhood we don't have bike lanes. But the question is, should the city fund putting in bike lanes, fund youth sports, and do that the same way the city of Lantana has done it?
I'm not exactly sure how the city of Lantana does it, but I do believe that we do need a, I think that we do have bike lanes. We have bike lanes all over the city. And I remember I was speaking with, well, I mean, it's not everywhere, but we do have bike lanes in certain areas of the city. And I know that I spoke with Mayor Pam Triola, and she was telling me that the city actually put in for a grant to, paint some more bike lanes. I don't know if I'm not allowed to speak about that. But yeah, the city did put a request in for a grant that they are requesting for some money to put in bike lanes right now. So it is something that is being worked on. And also, I do believe that we do need to work on having more community programs. I think that's actually another part of a previous question about crime in the city. If we have some programs for the young people in the city so that they can stay out of trouble, that's a preventative measure before we even have to, get somebody come and arrest them. And so I think that is also a good idea also.
How would you like, Mr. Rhodes?
Just keep going. Where have you been going? We're in the flow.
It's a little bit dangerous to ask me about bike lanes because, as many of you know, you've seen me around town on a bike. It's the yellow bags, the panic bag, that's me. I can sometimes come to commission meetings on the bike. We have bike lanes. Most of those that are there were put in by the CRA, not very many of them by the city. Our budget for doing that has been very, very small compared to working on other things. I think we could do a lot better on it. Many people like the fact that the distances are good in Lakewood. You need better bike lanes. They're not adequate the way it is now. As far as youth programs, I completely agree with Mr. Jerome on that one. We have some quite good ones. I think we need to do more with it. I don't think you can do too much on that kind of thing. I don't think it's as expensive, and I think the return on investment is pretty good on it.
Studies have shown that narrowing driving lanes slows traffic, and as I talk to people citywide, they are looking for traffic calming in this city. Bicycle lanes would serve that. Also, bicycles are good for the environment, and I support anything that we can do here in Lake Worth with so many environmental resources to preserve them. So I support and promote riding bicycles in this city. We are also a community of cyclists. They're everywhere. I think we should do everything in our power to support them, to support their habit, which is also good for the environment. Thank you.
I think this is a fairly easy topic because biking is a very good pastime in Florida. We sure see a lot of it, and there's a lot of people. I do see almost as many people riding a bike as walking a dog. But it's really important in terms of the dedication of where it's smart to put them. You don't want to put them in an area where there's a lot of potholes still, or there's a lot of traffic that's happening. You can't put it on our A1A, we can't put it on Federal Highway, we can't put it on Dixie Highway, and we can't get it on our other state roads that are going to work very well. It's kind of dangerous. But in a lot of areas in our city, there are some good bike lanes that need to network with the rest, and that's being studied. As far as the programs go from recreation, we have more than doubled the amount of people in our programs. You can talk to Juan Ruiz, who is the head of our recreation department, and he'll give you the statistics. It's really been improved quite a lot lately.
Getting near the end, thankfully. A lot of the neighborhood associations this year went out and got their own grants from the county or elsewhere to either beautify the stuff, make the call y'all or whatever. Do you think, A, the city should get involved and try and coordinate this so it's like unified throughout the city, and B, the people who've gone through and beautified their areas, they're now being mowed over by the city's gardeners because, you know, should something be done with more coordination with that type of thing, and what was your response to that?
No, John. Give it to John. That question was a little bit designed. All right.
I don't care who does it.
Read the question again after.
The short version is, should there be coordination between the neighborhood associations and what they're getting from the county? And two, should there be coordination also with the city so you don't ruin our plantings and things that we're going through and doing?
I'm totally against coordination with the city. I think it should be just random. Obviously, there have been issues, as I was mentioning to one of the residents in South Palm. There is a concern, a safety concern. We had an issue with a fatal accident that was partly related to height of vegetation and sightline visibility. Obviously, we have an increased sensitivity to that. That said, we can bring some intelligence and care and forewarning and communication to how some of the vegetation maintenance is done. Obviously, there were some issues in South Palm that didn't meet those criteria of coordination and forethought. As far as I believe it's called the REAP grants, REAP, I know there was an issue when those were last coming up of whether we could, as commissioners, support as city commissioners. And there was some legal issue. I'm not sure what it was, but there was an issue of being able to coordinate. So I think probably it's best for those reasons that each neighborhood does it independently and apply. And if we collect them in every neighborhood, great.
No one else has answered yet.
I would not discourage neighborhoods from seeking grants to beautify their own neighborhoods. Having people broken up into smaller neighborhoods gives them the opportunity to take pride in their own space. And if they have the ambition and energy to go out and seek resources for their own neighborhood, that's excellent. If they're talking about beautifying community spaces, city property, then obviously they would have to coordinate with the city to make sure they weren't destroying something public. But otherwise, we should encourage neighborhoods to want to support themselves, and we should work in tandem with them to help them in their mission. Thank you.
This is a strategic question, isn't it, on the 17th Avenue? because I got complaints there about someone very much concerned about their safety. And so that's why that was, and Chip already answered that this evening. There is a lot of coordination. With the REAP grants, money goes in and out. You know that the city pays for some of the posts that the signs get put on. There's a lot of coordination between them already. You should already know this. And so the fact is that we coordinate with the medians. South Palm Park, you all are very active. I helped plant those cocoa plums over there. We were working with the sprinkler system to get that work. A lot of coordination even with some of the power. Some of it hasn't even been really where we need it to be yet either. But there's a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails going back and forth. So it is really important to have that coordination. And it can be there, and it is there, and I encourage it.
I believe that the coordination is important, and we do need to make sure that the city is aware of all the grants and everything that the associations are applying for to make sure that there is no conflict. But as long as there isn't a conflict, I don't see why there should be a problem. It is a good thing for the associations to want to take ownership and to want to do something well or do something good in the community. And the city, as long as they know what's going on, shouldn't do anything to return it.
Thank you. And on behalf of South Palm Park, we'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day to come before us. For the last question will be, once again, your closing statement and why you should be elected. The order will be chosen at random. Who has one? 2 minutes. 2 minutes to close.
I'm glad to see a lot of you out tonight. Like I said earlier, that I know many of you and some of I haven't. But I would like to get to know as many people as possible, and I've been around the city for a number of years being very active. Also, in what we just had, the city pays for some of the banner posts that hold up to your banners all around the neighborhoods too. You know, it's important to be truthful, and on some literature, being part of the city board is really important. But you should also attend and participate. You should also take your ethics training. You should be part of it and show up and participate in these things. I participated in all these many times already. You need to come. If you're going to run for the most important board in this city, you need to be here not just at the last minute because you were asked. You need to be here because you want to be here and you've been participating. I don't know where somebody's been since 2012. But I haven't seen that person at all. You know what I'm talking about. I'm here for you all. You know I've been here. I know many of you, and I think you could help me continue us to stay on track. We don't need to waste money like we used to waste it. We don't need to detract from investments to come here. We don't need a poor reputation of our city. We need to increase what we already have. I'm on the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, and we have great rapport. They respect our city again. Been also involved in a number of the other U.S. Green Building Council as chairman of it already. And so we are really respected as a city. The League of Cities also. The attitude has changed. We need to keep on track. You need to vote for me again in terms of keeping us on track. And if you would like to participate in the city, come on and maybe start again with the sister board again.
I don't want anybody to think that we're just, we're a bunch of candidates, because even listening to our own answers, I feel like we almost all sound the same. When I went out and I was doing some door knocking, somebody had handed me a door hanger that they had received from somebody else, from my opponent, and I'm looking at it, and I'm reading it, and I feel like I'm almost running against myself. And I said, yeah, this doesn't even make any sense, because from what I know and what I've seen, what I see on this door hanger is not the way that our commissioner has been voting. It's not the way that our commissioner has been pushing the city. It seems like we're talking one way but acting differently. I'm a person that I walk the same way that I talk. If I tell you that I'm for the city and I'm for the growth of the city, you're going to be able to tell in every single action I do when I'm on the commission that I'm all about what I said I'm about. So I feel like, in the whole meeting, this is the kind of the feeling that I start to get, is that it's just becoming we're all just the same. But it's not true. We're not all just the same. We have different views and we want to take the city in vastly different directions. So you need to ask yourself, where do you want to take your city? Where do you want to take your home? How do you care about your community? And is the person that you're electing a person that has shown in the past that they believe what they say that they believe, and that they believe that what they say that they're going to do?
Well, that was interesting. I think my record speaks pretty clearly for itself. Yes, it is very true that I have not always voted in lockstep with the other commissioners on the commission. And there's a very good reason for that. There are, as Mr. Jerome says, very different visions for Lake Worth. I think there's also a lot of overlap. Do we need economic growth in this community? Do we have economic needs in this community? By all means, we very definitely do. Do we want to look like other parts of South Florida? Do we want to make short-term decisions that perhaps generate a lot of income for a small number of people, but do not lift up our whole community? No, I don't think we want to do that. I think we want to be very careful about how we grow. I think we want to do things that pull us in a direction that keeps our uniqueness. For instance, making it truly a place that is artist-friendly. Not just that we say that we're artist-friendly, but that we have things that make that possible. Not that we say that we're a green city, but we do not have a sustainability coordinator that would have cost us $11,000 out of our general fund. I definitely spoke up on that. We could have had that. We could have had that a number of years ago. We could be leaders in renewable energy. We could be leaders in the cheapest way to reduce our footprint, which is conservation and efficiency. Helping people learn to reduce their bills and still live well. We could be doing things with that. And those are the kinds of things why on some votes, there will be 4-1 votes. On many things where we all see the same benefit to the city, to the broad part of the city, everybody, there are unanimous votes. Go back and look at the record. There are a lot of unanimous votes. But on some things where it's critical, where transparency is an issue, where the vision of the future of our community is at stake, I will not necessarily vote the same as the other. I will vote my conscience and what I hear from the